Hey guys, it's an early Weird Things.
Yeah.
You know, it's a weird weekend, right? Memorial Day weekend. Everybody's, this is a weird Sunday that kind of feels like a Saturday because people don't have to work tomorrow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, not really us, right? Like, because all the days are kind of weird. But
Although tomorrow will be one of the first days that that we've taken off for cord killers. Like,
That hasn't been a holiday.
yeah. Well, I mean, it
Or
is
it
a
hasn't
holiday.
been the winter holiday break.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, that is a good point.
yeah, we're taking off our Hotline Monday too. So I guess let's all get wasted.
I think even TMS is off.
Yeah, TMS is definitely off.
So that's a
Crazy.
crazy weird thing.
Kookaburra.
Tomorrow's a day for me to make my podcasting footprint across the world.
yeah, like
Your other podcasts have failed you.
all the time slots are open.
Oh, by the way, speaking of podcasts, I believe this podcast is up for a podcast award,
It is.
and today is the first day to vote.
I just voted.
That's true.
I used that. I used that bookmarklet. Although it didn't. Maybe I missed it. I didn't. I just casually looked at it.
Mm-hmm.
It looks like it won't click and pre-fill them all. You have to
No,
individually
you have
click
it'll
each one.
it'll copy stuff. I think it'll copy stuff to your clipboard, and so you can Control V and paste.
Whoa.
In any case,
Which stuff?
I don't know. I haven't actually seen the voting, but
Oh,
that's
okay.
what they did for the nominations.
Yeah, no, this one it just checks your work, and you could click on it and it'll highlight it. But then you gotta click radio button on each of those.
Oh well, that's fine.
No worries though.
Okay, I think we're good to go. Y'all good to go?
Oh
to
yeah.
go.
Yeah.
All right, take it away in 3, 2.
Welcome to the Weird Things Podcast. I'm Andrew Main, joined by Brian Brushwood.
Yes.
BB stands for Best Buddy. Justin Robert Young.
Oh hi guys. Sorry, I'm confused because I'm currently voting in the podcast awards for us.
Yeah, man. Podcastawards.com. And you can, as a matter of fact, if you want to remember to vote every day and make it super easy, there's a bookmarklet. If you go to hat.t2t2.eu, you're able to just drag that to the bookmarklet section, your bookmark, and then you click it, and it'll pop out and help you check everything.
It makes voting very very easy for our little slate here, and hopefully by the end of it we will come away victorious.
Dare to dream. Dare to dream. Speaking of dreaming, gentlemen, I am at MizCon. I'm in Missoula, Montana, right? A great little con here. Super nice people. Kevin J. Anderson's here. Patrick Roth is going to be here tomorrow. Jim Butcher. I mean, just a fantastic lineup. Buddy Peter J. Wax. And having a lot of fun. What's interesting about Missoula, by the way, is I did a little research on the area, and something rang in the back of my head, something, kind of like Paleolithic about it. And I realized this was the location of where they had the Great Missoula Flood. There was this humongous flood about 12,000 years ago because there was an ice dam formed up, and you had basically about as much water as half of Lake Michigan was all welled up in here. And then the ice dam burst, and just in a matter of days, it just pushed right through Montana, through Idaho, and across Washington. And you can still see the scabland there where the water just pushed everything aside.
It's the scab land. Bleep, bop, bop, bada, bop.
So you think about what that would have been like, because there would have been Native Americans living here at the time.
Yeah.
An amazing mega flood.
I mean, that's enough to. I mean, like when we talk about belief in the supernatural, or even beyond that, theologically, like that is an act of God, right? All of a sudden, a gigantic wave of water just wipes out everything you know and everybody you've ever met.
Well, especially when you can't for the life of you, like let's say you traveled, I assume this went a good, 50, 100 miles or so. Let's say in your lifetime where it's expected that you've gone maybe 10 miles from where you're born, and you're like, I don't know of any place for this much water to come from. And then all of a sudden it's just over everything.
Yeah, and it's there have been other events of floods similar to that. Like there was probably one in the Mediterranean that were around in human lifetimes. And it's one of the reasons why flood myths are so pervasive. It's not just that oh, they had flooding. Like, no, they had like, 1,000 people just showed up in our territory because they told us the oceans opened up and took over their land. Gentlemen,
That's crazy.
speaking of cons, I've got a question for you, a scenario for you both. Okay,
All right.
I want you to
This
imagine
is how it
that,
starts.
I want you to imagine that you're at a con.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll call it up TexCon. Okay,
All right.
and you guys get asked onto a panel because of your award-winning work, possibly podcast award-winning work on the Weird Things podcast.
Sure.
And you're on a panel with some different people talking about science. And one of the people on the panel is sort of kind of an interesting guy. Maybe he's into lasers or something along the lines, and talking about different kinds of technologies, nanotech, medical tech, whatever. And he seems pretty smart, kind of like big cutting edge, but kind of smart, right? After the panel, you guys are in conversation with this guy. We'll call him Frank, okay? And Frank says, yeah, it was just fun. I can't talk publicly about a lot of my work, but some stuff you guys might be interested in. And he reaches into his pocket and he pulls out a small vial. Says, yeah, this is what I'm really proud about. This is what's really exciting.
I mean, are we? First of all, just so we're clear, this is like right after the panel. This is in public. I mean, I'm looking over my shoulder for the fuzz.
Yeah, you're in the hallway. Talk to him.
So out in the open, we're not at the bar or in the green room or any kind of like speakers
you're off
lounge.
to the side. You're off to the side in the corner, right?
How
right.
big a
well,
vial?
we can go ahead and suspend our disbelief because there's not a line of people looking to ask for our autograph or anything. So
Okay.
obviously this is a science fiction scenario,
They're all at Scott Sigler's booth getting his autograph.
as they well should be.
I mean, can I hold the vial? Can I take a look at it? Hold it up to the light, shake it a bit?
Yeah,
and-
I give you the vial to look at, and it's maybe a slightly little gold amber, sort of there's an amber kind of color to it.
Okay. So it is
Goldschlager.
transparent, right? It is
Yeah.
see-through.
Yeah.
And then, can I ask? Can I ask him casually, like, can I keep this? like not even knowing what it is.
You can ask anything you want.
I mean, by the way,
this?
the move there is the Vladimir Putin. I thank you very much for your gift.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. I mean, I guess does he let me have it, or is he resistant?
But wait, hold on. No. You got to ask what the hell it is
He
before you
says,
look to grab it.
You're not at all curious.
Sorry, say again.
You got to ask. You just want to take this without even knowing what it is.
Yeah, all right, here. Brian is in the middle of saying, can I have, and I say, Brian.
Justin, you're there too.
Right, all right, hold on. What the hell's in this vial, Dr. Von Creepo?
Well, one of the things I've been working on is creating nano-sized particles for curing diseases, particularly anything that's virus related. Inside this vial, I have we'll call it a solution that can prevent HIV, it can prevent the common cold, it can prevent Zika, it can prevent a number of viral infections.
So this is like a universal viral vaccine?
Numerous viral vaccines.
Is this all right? So you just drink it and you're good, or do you have to drink it
No.
and then like program like that's like the hardware, and then you push in the software that cures whatever ails you?
No, he says you have to take it as like a nasal spray.
Well, that doesn't seem bad. I mean, surely there can't be any side effects to putting in a universal antiviral. Is it? How far along is this? Have you tested it on any humans yet?
He said that he's actually used this on people. He's had people who've been able to treat this with people for different conditions. People who, let's say, have, let's say, I think MRSA, further along with that, and they can't treat it. But it's not FDA approved. He's working with doctors behind the scenes and sort of maybe,
So
and
Please,
MRSA's a bacteria, by the way.
please now meet my lab mate, Seth Brundle.
ha! So here's how does it work? Because the vaccine you of course have to take before you get the infection, but you're saying this would be a cure. This would be actually better than a vaccine because if you already have it, you could treat it with this.
Yeah, well, yeah, you can. What it explains what it is they're tiny little particles that would plug into the receptors either on viruses or bacteria, and in the bacteria, it sort of shuts it down by plugging into whatever they're using to infect your body, and with virus, whatever they use to go into the cell, the protein structure there, it clogs that up.
Well, okay, now help me out here because a virus is very different in size from a bacteria. Like we're talking orders of magnitudes difference. I'm going to say that anything that is good at killing a virus or a bacteria probably is good at killing maybe some things I don't want killed or plugging up some cells that I don't want plugged.
So he explains to you sort of the science that like viruses have particular sized particular size receptors and bacteria do. And so what he did is he just made them the appropriate sizes to plug into those. So
it's basically like a two-headed screwdriver. It's got Phillips head on one side and regular flathead on the other. All right.
But at the same time, this is pretty much all medicine. At some point, right? At some point, we're like, whoa, wait a minute. I can take this pill and all of a sudden my head stops hurting. But what if it stops my heart?
Yeah. Does it stop our hearts? Have you had that happen yet?
No. He said no negative effects from it.
Okay, now when you say I guess look, we think you're great. This has been a great convention. We're all meeting for drinks.
Still a great night. Still a great night.
We're still meeting for drinks in just a bit, but I don't want to call nonsense on this. But how big is your sample size here? How big a trial have you run so far?
I mean, it's been small. It's been small. I've given it to my kids, given it to some friends and family. I've had doctors who've had some patients that have really, really difficult progressive conditions.
Okay, at this point, the moment he says he's given it to his kids and a few other people, my BS alarms are in full. This is water. This is homeopathy. I don't believe any of it now. That's not the way grown-up science works.
All right, I'm pulling Brian back because now he's getting all.
My shirt's already off.
Let me. Brian's shirt's off. He's right now. He's crinkling his plastic cup that he got. Like it's starting to show the indents of his fingers. You said it's not approved by the FDA. Are you in the process of getting that happen? What is your long-term goals with this? To your explanation, absolute medical breakthrough.
Get enough funding to be able to go do FDA trials. Get to the point where we can do that. Jump through all the hurdles there.
So this is some garage potion making is what you got right now, and now you're looking to kind of bring it into the legitimate light.
Correct.
Okay, well, quick question. You said it's a nanoparticle. You're not implying that they're like nano robots or whatever. You're saying this is a nanomaterial, some bits and pieces that like to plug in like jigsaw puzzles to receptors that affect viruses' ability to replicate.
Exactly, and bacteria. Exactly.
And how do you make it? How do you make this in your garage?
Well, I have a facility, and what we use a grid of lasers, and we shoot gold particles through there, and the lasers were able to control the diameter. So if we knew a rhinovirus, what the receptor site, the size that is, we can finely tune our laser array and shoot the particle through there and create it the right size.
All right, Brian, come
Justin,
here.
Hold on.
Come
Yeah,
here for
no,
a second.
I think this guy's legit. He talked about gold and lasers.
Yeah.
And he said he gave it to his kids.
What's better than gold?
Lasers. Gold that's been shaped by lasers is even better, right?
Man, I feel like this is like lasers and gold, lasers and gold. You can't have a cure without lasers and gold.
All right, listen, I got like $20 right now. I bet he's seeking funding.
Wait,
right
hold on,
now.
Brian. You were about to get into an old-fashioned ham hock redneck fight with
no,
this
did
man
you not
5
hear the
seconds
part
ago.
where it's the lasers and gold? This guy's got the gold. He needs to
Hold
buy
on.
more gold.
But all right, I know what you're saying is who else here wants to see a leprechaun say yeah? But
Yes.
Just do me a favor. Put your money back in your pocket. Put your shirt back on.
Okay. All right.
Sir, have you brought this to anybody who has tested it on any laboratory setting, even unofficially yet? Or has this just you been testing it on your friends and family up till now?
We've done some animal studies, some animal tests.
Okay. any kind of animal tests that aren't just you catching animals and testing it in your neighborhood? Like, have you brought it?
No, I've actually hired a lab. We've had like a bunch of rabbits and stuff and given them to them.
And how did it go with the rabbits?
All fine, all healthy.
I mean, Justin, I swear, like if it's not us, it's going to be someone else. We could get in ground floor with this.
I'm not asking you guys to invest. Just want to know. I liked you guys. Thought you were cool. Wanted to know if you wanted to try this. We can go out, go out to my car and get a nasal spray. Let each of you try it.
So about that, I'm on some prescription medicines that this might interact with.
Yeah, I have to go to the dentist tomorrow, so they told me to not do any nasal sprays for 24 hours. So
last year, I sat on Santa's lap, and he said I only get a present if I don't take any drugs up the nose for a whole year.
I'm in a very non-materialistic phase in my life right now, so I don't want to ingest gold or have it near me.
I'm currently doing an all-natural diet, and laser gold particles is not on. It's like that,
I've
and I'm
actually had my nostrils sewn up so I can better breathe through my mouth. So that's just a me thing.
But hey, man, wait, have you tried this? You've tried this, right?
I'm asking you guys.
All right, Neo, that seems a little evasive. You got a real bullet time response on that one. So you're telling me yes or no, you've done this yourself?
I'm not. I haven't been in a situation precisely as described.
So wait, but the situation you're putting us in is some random dude says he's got gold potion. Do you want to snort it?
So you jeez, Justin, look, I'll take the knees. You hold them down.
I mean, we could just walk away.
No, look, the guy's clearly dangerous. He wants to slaughter us all with his gold lasers.
No, man, don't worry. Listen, I'm from South Florida. A strange person asking you to snort something is par for the course. It happens all the time.
He already has the villain name and everything. He's Gold Laser. And he wants, bet you anything he wants us to pour this in the reservoir. Hold on. Hey, have you poured this in any reservoirs yet?
No, I wouldn't have enough gold to quite do that. I can take a small amount, make
part
this
of his
nasal
plan.
spray.
His lust for gold. Gold laser cannot be
This
stopped.
is definitely why he has to recruit us to break into Fort Knox, isn't it?
I mean, think about it. He's got this plan where he's like, gentlemen, you can heal everyone. All you need to do. And the greedy fat cat lawyer is sitting on that gold in Fort Knox.
Wait a minute. Are you saying, because this guy, all right, Dr. Von Creepo, if you're saying that we have not, that you haven't been in a situation that we're in, are you saying that we're infected with something that needs your gold snorting treatment?
I'm saying that if you ever think you might get the cold or the flu again, this will help you prevent it.
And you're not afraid of getting the cold or the flu?
Yeah, hold on.
Sneeze in this man's mouth.
Dr. Gold Laser, how long does this work? You just take it once and you're immune forever?
No, we're trying to figure out how long the immunity works, because eventually that stuff works its way out of your body.
Okay. I mean, that seems good, right?
All right, Brian. Here we go. Are you ready? Rock, paper, scissors.
Wait, for which one of us does it?
Let's just go. Rock, paper, scissors. Here
Sure. Okay, ready?
Okay.
1, 2, 3, go.
All right. All right, here. Right, no, here. Down below, okay? And then we'll bring it up in the frame.
Sure.
Here we go. 1, 2, 3, go. All right.
Oh, deuce.
Hey, scissors beats middle finger.
Two beats one.
Yeah, scissors cuts off wiener.
Okay, fine.
For those of you listening to this, Brian raised his middle finger and Justin had scissors.
All right, fine. I take the
scissors
potion.
cuts wiener, as we all know in rock, paper, scissors.
I don't even get to. My kids aren't even here. I can't even blame them. Fine. Give me your potion. I'm gonna take it. And then I take it and I snort it, and then I'm like, ooh, that's good stuff. And then I just get like real fired up, like I want to write a novel. Then, and then I want to pick a fight with someone.
All right, Andrew, or Dr. Von Creepo, what does Brian start to experience?
So I don't know the answer to that, but here's what I can tell you. I was at a con, not this con, on a panel with a very credible, interesting guy talking about lasers and gold particles and nano
Oh
stuff.
my God, this is so much better than citing an article.
Oh, it's Brian. It's going to go deep here. Afterwards, we went off to the side and we started talking about nano stuff, nanoparticles, and he started explaining to me how he was, he talked to people who were doing virus research and they'd imaged the rhinovirus. He says, well, what's the diameter of the receptor? They said this. He says, okay, went back to his lab, adjusted his laser array grid, started producing gold particles of that, and said that he created a treatment for that. Same thing with MRSA, the bacteria. Said that he created gold nanoparticles that could go in there because gold is in your body.
Okay. So that's what I think threw me off track, because I thought it was a magic tincture that cured everything, but you're saying it's a process that custom yields basically corks to plug all of the reproductive holes on all of those naughty viruses and bacterias.
You dial it. You would create it to the specific size for the virus or the bacteria that you're trying to affect.
Wow.
Okay, so. This guy's telling me this. He's telling me his entire process for how he's doing it, the people he's worked with, all this, how long it'll try to take to get this thing into,
we have an artist's rendering of exactly how it works for the audio listeners. It's SpongeBob with all of his holes plugged up with corks. It's amazing.
Basically that. So he explains to me the process and all that, and I'm in the back of my mind, I'm like, is this guy crazy? Is this guy? And I've spent through my work and, James Randi Foundation, I've been around a lot of crazy people, not just in the foundation, but I've talked to a lot of fringe scientists, a lot of fringe people, and I have a BS alarm. And I'm running right up on the edge of that there going, yeah, I think his science is sound. I think his physics is sound. I don't know if his biochemistry or his molecular biology is or is not. And I don't think I would be able to know unless we actually did clinical trials of it. But it wasn't nothing. He didn't go off in any sort of crazy area. My question was sort of more like, well, what is how do you, what kind of dilutions do you have to make sure the viruses connect with the receptors and all that? I can understand. So I don't know the answer to that. Anyhow, very, very interesting. Very, very interesting. And I went and I did some little research and I found out there's actually been some clinical trials and some investigation into this sort of treatment. And then, drum roll, please.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
We had a headline this week, or actually 2 weeks ago, from IBM. IBM creates a molecule that could destroy all viruses. And what IBM has developed is a particularly custom-designed molecule that works in a similar fashion to this, where it's designed with special receptors that attract the viruses, and they plug right into it, and then it disables them or prevents it from infecting cells.
So this is an interesting thing, because oftentimes when we think of combating viruses, we have some kind of like fight fire with fire, Frankenstein's, everything's great until the nanobots self-replicate or whatever. But because, and again, I'm stuck on that imagery of the corks, but because all we're doing is essentially making a bunch of corks, we have full control of the creation of this, and in each round of corks is built to plug a certain type of virus. That's astonishing. That seems fairly safe and smart if it works.
Yeah, there's actually a National Institute of Health study, Emerging Nanotechnology Approaches for HIV/AIDS Prevention and Treatment, which there's a graph there and it kind of or a diagram which sort of describes a very, very similar thing to what this guy explained to me about how you'd use nano-sized particles to basically go in there and interfere with that process.
Man, that is astonishing.
Dude.
So, crazy things happen at cons, guys.
So Brian, wait. In this scenario, like Brian won.
I drank, I snorted the gold. I feel great. I mean, assuming I had or was going to be exposed to whichever virus. Because I guess that's the other thing, too. If this stays in your system for some amount of time, I mean, if the corks can't find a thing to plug into, then let's assume that they're just in your bloodstream, and so you could be exposed to that and you'd be fine. And it's not like you'd sneeze and your corks would go out and ruin the day for someone else. This is amazing. Gold corks for the win.
Mm-hmm. So, gentlemen.
Listen, this is all fun and games until everybody starts replicating with gold skin and starts taking over the world, right?
I mean,
and it may turn out that this is spurious or whatever, or it's a blind, it's an alley. It's not going to lead to any really promising thing. But it's a very interesting situation to be in, to be like, well, this could be. And for me, it was this when I read the IBM thing. I'm like, man, this guy got less crazy in my mind. And I kind of think he's kind of onto something, to be honest with you, before that. But it was sort of an interesting little touchback to that.
Damn.
If you want us to keep bringing you the latest cutting edge research on what may be
Original reporting.
pseudoscientific cures, we don't know. We're not qualified to tell you this. We need your support.
Yeah, man.
Absolutely. Head on to patreon.com/weird things and support us. Thank you to the 435 people who do support us and make sure that we have the time every single week to bring y'all all the weird y'all can handle. Man, it's such a fun time. Thank you.
Heck yeah.
We've had
I had a question. We were gossiping just for a split second before the show, and I don't want to get dragged all the way into it because we ended up talking quite a bit about our first week with the Vive last week. 2 weeks in, Justin, you had some. You're already starting to see the shape of.
Wait. This is our third topic, Brian.
Oh,
third
is it?
topic.
Oh, all right. Hold enough.
I figured we'd do a kind of a longer Vive session towards the end and not worry about where that was going.
Yeah.
All right, cool. Yeah, no, that works for me.
There was a very interesting discovery, not a discovery, but a theory about what may be the densest bodies in the universe. Have you heard about this?
Yeah, Mr. December.
I'm on fire. Kids, where's your father? Upstairs watching gay porn. It's brain candy, Kids in the Hall.
Oh my
Got
god.
it. Okay.
If you don't know about it, literally stop listening and watch it right now.
Yeah. So there is and I'm not. There has been a research paper out which is speculating that there might be a new form of star that's denser than a neutron star.
Now, a neutron star, if I remember my basic astronomy, my astrology, is a Sagittarius. No, a neutron star is formed after a supernova, right? That's what's left over, just all the super dense, not quite a black hole. If a exploding star doesn't become a black hole, it becomes a neutron star.
Yeah, everything has all of the electron shells have collapsed, so you're just left with the neutrons. Okay, and there's been this has been proposed before, but there's been some new, interesting research and ideas into what this might actually be something. And so there's a proposed new denser star, a quark star.
Oh, wow. And I guess that's just because quarks are constituent particles of neutrons. So breaking down, you would have even less. If you picture neutrons being soda cans, this is all bottle caps, all crammed in there, super duper tight.
They say that when what they call a neutron degenerate matter, those degenerate neutrons get condensed even further, then it could form what would be called.
Those are neutrons that are smoking weed, hanging out, skipping class.
Oh my God, neutron degenerate matter. I mean, that's an album right there, right?
Absolutely, man.
So I don't really have anything to add to that other than space is weird, guys.
Dude, and by the way, sticking on our little trip through the week that was in space, there was an amazing moment at our apartment here in Oakland where semi-jokingly, my wife, Ashley, said to me like, oh, yeah, SpaceX landed another rocket on a barge. Yawn. And it's like, I was very, very excited that even as a joke, like any joke, a joke is funny because it has that kernel of truth. But it's like, man, we're there. We're at the point where now the coolest thing about SpaceX landing a rocket is that they put a cool image of it on Instagram, right? Like that they had a better camera to capture it in a cool, new, different way because the act of it actually happening is still something, or is now something that is like, yeah, no, I mean, cool. But in the way that, like, planes taking off and landing are cool, right?
So somebody sent me a couple hours ago, I'm trying to find it in my Twitter timeline, but they sent me a link of somebody debunking this, or saying that I believe it was a flat earther saying that it was more fake propaganda trying to prove that the Earth is round.
Well, obviously, we all accept that, but
it was something they sent it to me, so it would be an @Schwood at the beginning, and I think you were tagged on there as well, Andrew Main. But it's amazing how somebody can adopt a reasonable tone of voice and just say, you know, like, oh, it's just fantasy. It's fantasy. So obviously not true. Yeah, we all want the Earth to be round, but there are things that just aren't true. It's pretty. Let's see if I can find it.
Let's pretend for the moment that we became somewhat more entertaining to the idea that the Earth was flat. Okay, let's hypothesize for a moment that for some reason we were persuaded by this. I don't know about you guys, but I know the moment I start to fall for that and start to ignore everything I know or all the critical questions I've asked, and I start to think the Earth is flat, I'm getting you guys on a Skype conference call, and I've got the most ambitious, amazing idea ever, and I've got a Kickstarter. You know what that is?
What?
An expedition to the edge of the world.
Oh,
yeah.
I'm waiting for one of these guys to go, and it's always dudes, by the way. I'm waiting for one of them to, like, you know, hey guys, you know, the Earth is flat. I'm starting a Kickstarter. We're going to go to the edge of the world and prove it.
Well, and to what point? I mean, like, let's say
and that's. I think we talked about this when the B.O.B. You know, Neil deGrasse Tyson thing blew up. That, like, the funniest thing about, well, not funny, but I mean, like, the most interesting thing about this to me is that the you know, conspiracies spawn, right? So it's like, it's not just flat Earth, it's also global government and clones and facial recognition through Snapchat filters, right? Like, it is all that kind of like multiplies on multiplies on multiplies, because now you can string all these things together, and now this is the emergence of a world making sense as opposed to a bunch of disparate ideas. But yeah, that's like, I could see, like, oh, well, why can't we get to the edge of the world? Because the global government will murder you if you launch that Kickstarter.
Yeah, well, here, listen to some of the logic here.
Itself, it comes down for a straight landing. Give me a break. There you go. It's all about proving the bald Earth. Now, you got a rocket in the bottom. How does this pencil, basically a flying pencil, you know, regain itself and land straight down like this? What a complete joke. You know, I understand people want to believe this is real. You know, when I was a child, I wanted to believe, you know, that unicorns are real, that dinosaurs are real somewhere in Africa, still alive today, that there was a pot at the end of the rainbow, but this is not reality. People are still children. They believe this is possible, but it's not. And where's the amateur footage of this? Let's get a little bit of a close-up here.
So this is absence of.
Look at these swells hitting the side of this barge. Believe this thing can really land like this? Give me a break. No
Okay, time out. This is always so astonishing to me, because, like, there's just so many, like, it's such good shotgunning, because I struggle to process each phrase, and by the time I even have half of an answer formed, he's already made 4 more that are too far for me to reach towards. So anyway, I thought that was really interesting.
Well, I mean, it shows you what kind of scientific marvel it is, right? That at this point, as we who have followed this for so many years, I mean, I guess if and not in his defense, right, but in seeking to understand it, we have followed SpaceX's evolution for what? As long as
6 years, 7 years, yeah.
6 years, right? 7 years, like, and Andrew has been more, you know, focused on kind of rocketry and stuff like that, probably from before that. So, like, this idea we have come to very, very gradually, because we have watched SpaceX kind of, they've announced stuff years in advance, and they've set their goals, and they've done the tests, and we've watched the tests and everything. So it's like we can see it go one by one by one. If you automatically, you know, had these beliefs and then just saw this thing, you'd be like, oh God, look at what they're trying to pass off now, especially if you believe that there's a global government run by lizards in the middle of the earth and that they are cloning celebrities to control us. It's so fascinating. But on its core level, from our perspective, it shows that, listen, these are, not anything that we don't know, but like amazing revolutionary scientific things, enough so that people are like, well, obviously this can't be true. There's no way that this can't be true.
I guess he's just ahead of the curve, because the only difference is, like everybody accepted the moon landing as real because they watched all of the pieces come together. They understood all of the pieces as it went. And it was only 10 years later that people are like, man, that was pretty crazy. It's just hard to believe we did that. And then thus the conspiracy theories started to get grown. I think this guy's 10 years ahead of his time. I think 10 years from now, when we're swimming in reused rockets, is when he should be claiming that all this is fake and that clearly.
Although, by the way,
possible.
he says, "Where's the amateur footage?" There probably is amateur footage of them landing it in Cape Canaveral, right? The first one, not the barge, but I'm sure that there are people who watched it come back down there in the dead of night.
Yeah. So,
well, what does that prove, guys? What does that prove? You could fake that.
Where's the amateur footage of our Weird Things podcast, huh? You're telling me with three guys all sitting around talking about weird stuff?
The fact that he's asking for amateur footage for something 100 miles out at Sierramore shows you how much he does not grasp and how little he's bothered to look into this.
Yeah.
Shows how dedicated he is. That shows how he's always thinking smarter than Elon Musk.
Yeah, I don't know.
You ever think it's strange that he's got a bunch of S's in his name? He's clearly a snake lizard man.
I always think it's certainly an easy and here we go. Now we're watching amateur footage of the Falcon 9 launch and landing from late last year at Cape Canaveral. It's very, very easy to pick on that guy, but obviously I think there is ample evidence to answer any and all the questions that he has.
Well, I think that the bottom line is that if you're going to go out and make a bunch of claims that something's BS, and you won't even take 20 minutes to get your to even ask basic questions of where was this done? I think you're really opening yourself up. It's one thing if somebody is at sort of the limit of their ability to understand stuff. If somebody says, maybe ESP is real, maybe these things, which I think aren't, and I can explain why, but I can understand. In psychology, might be baffled.
Sorry, we lost you for just a second, but it sounded like you were saying that that even if you're at the different conclusion, you can at least understand the impulses that would drive people to ask that.
Well, yeah, I'm saying that there's some things are harder for the average person to understand why they may not be true, and some things are a lot easier just to ask basic questions like, where was that drone ship?
Yeah.
And if you just at least understood where that was supposed to be, you'd know why there wouldn't be amateur footage of it.
Yeah.
But of course, that's what they want you to think.
Well, I don't know. You're telling me there's just no boats in the ocean that day? No boats. No boats happen to be around.
Yeah.
It's on the ocean.
You know what? Fun fact. I had a friend that wanted to go get video of that to show it.
Yeah.
The government told him he couldn't be there. I wonder why.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, not within 100 miles, they said.
What are they trying to hide? Gentlemen, it's been, a week since you got your Vive, right?
Yeah, we're at 2 weeks now. Almost 2 weeks. Almost 2 weeks.
So you're sick of them, right? You're ready to throw them back in the box and ship them back to Vive and say, screw you guys, you ripped me off, I hate you forever, right? Right?
No. Although it has been long enough that I think we are starting to, I suspect, and I don't want to speak for Justin, but I know that I am paying a lot more attention to the games and whether they're good. Like right now, it's like, it's like the early days of color television. You didn't care what it was in color. Same thing with HD. It's like, yeah, I'll watch a sunrise for an hour on this channel. I don't care. It's in HD. But go ahead.
Yeah. Well, I think Andrew made a really fun analogy when we were talking about the gear VR. That it's like if you've never seen VR before, to look at the gear VR. It's like the first people to watch a moving motion picture, like train pulls into station. You're like, oh God, stop the train! It's gonna hit us.
Yes.
Like,
yes.
There is this kind of amazing, like immersive kind of thing, and then once you've used it, you're like, okay, this is like, right? It's okay, it's good, it's nice, but it's like Google Cardboard, but a little bit more fancy pants. Once you play the Vive and you kind of get over just the fact that this thing exists and a little bit of I use the word novelty, but not in a negative way, but just that like, okay, so now this is a world that I can visit all the time. And you start to focus on the games. What I think kind of has made it such a magical experience, but both at the beginning and now persisting, is that the games that are there now really have, in their own different ways, tapped into some of what makes this experience so special.
Yes. Well, and to my surprise, the most enduring of all the games that I've played, and again, I haven't been able to dedicate as much time as I'd like. The realities of living get in the way. But I'm shocked. Every time I load up my Vive, the first game I go back and play over and over and over again is Space Pirate Trainer. And it is dead simple. It's just Galaga in all directions coming at you. And you just shoot all the drones out of the sky. It seems like when it's a game that is a natural fit, when everything feels right, you reach back over your shoulder to grab the shield and you switch ammunition on your guns and it feels like you're holding guns and stuff. It's very, very good. I have heard great things about Vanishing Realms, but ultimately, I guess I don't. It's a big sprawling RPG. And the problem is I want very short, very intense interactions with my VR. I want something extremely high fidelity for a relatively short time. I don't think I could do 3 or 4 hours in a row of Vanishing Realms.
I totally could. And I like Vanishing Realms. My problem is that and Jeff Kanata actually informed me of this. I didn't know this on Twitter today, but it's all designed by one dude. In fact, by and large, I'm just going to take a wild guess and say the vast majority of what you're seeing right now on Vive have very small developmental teams. And certainly not anywhere near where I think it's going to get to. I like Vanishing Realms, and I am fine to take an hour here and again to tell a larger story. I would very much be excited for that, but like any larger story, you need to have it needs to be something super exciting, right? It needs to be something that that you are super pumped to do, and I don't know if we are quite there yet with Vanishing Realms, specifically because the lore is a little gobbledygooky, and the mechanics of it, although when it is revolutionary, are very exciting, can tend to get like, okay, here's another gigantic skeleton creature. I'm gonna wait until he lunges so I can hit him with my sword. It's not quite as thrilling, but again, these are very, very, very early days on it, and you can certainly see where Vanishing Realms, I think the lessons will be learned for it going forward.
Yeah, I suspect I would not be terribly into Vanishing Realms, regardless of the format. It just, yeah, again, it's great and it's novel, but it's just awfully big, and I find myself doing other things. Did get to play some Hover Junkers, which takes some getting used to on the mechanics on that. Hover Junkers is the only Vive game that you move, or that I've experienced, that you move without physically walking around in. And that's the one part of it that I'm not a crazy fan of. That's the only time that I feel kind of sick to my stomach or get a bit of a weird motion vibe. I don't know. Were you a fan? You don't necessarily like first-person shooters at all.
I don't, and I love Hover Junkers. It's by far been the one that I've played the most. It's funny, Ashley initially had some real motion sickness problems with that one, and then wound up doing okay with it. Kept playing it, and that was that. So just to give you a sense of Hover Junkers, what the idea is that you are on the deck of a ship, right? So you are walking around in your space, but you are also moving your larger ship in this map, and the goal is to shoot and kill as many of the pilots on other similar junkers in the allotted period.
But specifically, because you can stand up and dodge around left and right, built into the game is your ability to actually build your own cover scheme. You build a tall thing to hide behind over here, a short thing over here.
So it's simultaneously kind of riding around, and then when you get kind of junker to junker, now it becomes this sort of dodge behind a wall and then like peek out and try to shoot somebody and then dodge back behind and stuff like that.
Yeah. No, really, really creative stuff. At this
also,
point,
by the way, Brian, we can play 2 people on a junker.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So one of us can drive and one of us can shoot.
Dude, all the way in. By the way, did you ever figure out like why is there a microphone built into the Vive? Because
Yes.
I can't seem to select it.
Yes.
All right.
No.
Well,
Yeah. I think it might be your problem might be trying to do too much. Like once it's selected, you just hold the things and you talk. And,
no. Yeah, no, I did all. I'm saying you can't even select it in the. We don't want to check this out on the air. Windows doesn't seem to be under the impression that there's a microphone on the Vive, is what I'm saying. So what do we know anything about some of the games coming down the pipeline for the Vive?
Kanata sent me a link to something that was promising to be more of a storytelling thing. That it will be. It promises to be the most complete. Here, let me see if I can find it. The Assembly. The trailer promises a VR thriller with impossible choices. Behind-the-scenes video plays up the completeness of the virtual world. What I suspect is what they're saying is that every frame, it's so dense.
Although Kanata was also telling me about games where it's just like a Myst type puzzle, where it's like you're just in the environment, nothing's coming at you, there's no timer, you're not hustled, but it's like you just got to solve a problem and how to get there. And if you want to get something out of your backpack, you just reach back, open up your backpack, rummage around, and be like, oh, I wonder if this coil fits into this jibber job, and you give it a try and try to solve stuff that way, which seems like a very kind of low key. Highly immersive experience that would be different from what.
Well, and I think that's ultimately where we're going to see things going. Is that you can have something very, very active in this space, and you can have something very, very immersive in this space. And I think the games that try to do both of them might be missing the point compared to the ones that want to lead more and more into that direction, and then use the elements of the other one. Just to their advantage, right? Like you can make a game like Space Pirate Trainers that is very, 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 dependent on your gun and reflexes and stuff like that. And you can make that, I mean, that is already a fairly immersive game. You could make it more immersive, right? But ultimately, this is going to be about shooting things out of the sky. Or you can make something that is very storytelling, that maybe does not rely on you moving and jumping and ducking and dodging. And it is more turn-based, but relies on the immersive nature of it. Because I think, like, just a Final Fantasy game, a turn-based combat game, I would absolutely love. And I think that you could take new and different storytelling challenges with that very seriously with VR. And it doesn't have to, everything doesn't have to be move your shield and move your sword, because now you're simulating combat just because you can. And that's where I think, Vanishing Realms, I think kind of that's a lesson to be learned from there, is that ultimately, like, I want to go through this lore. I want to go through this puzzle. I want to solve these things, and I want to save the whatever tilting espers and the vanishing realms or whatever. But I don't need to have this be a hack and slash.
Yeah, there was that Wired article where they talked a lot about the Magic Leap a month or two ago, and one of the tidbits that they said was research seems to indicate that, after playing about an hour of Minecraft, people, first-person perspective, people get really fatigued. It's just so much and everything's so loud. Whereas if they take that game, still keep you have the VR gear on you, but then they just put it inside of this two-dimensional screen, and it's a big, fat, awesome-looking screen, and you're just playing two-dimensional Minecraft on that screen. People can go 2 or 3 hours without much fatigue or a break.
All right, real quick, let's just cap this off. I don't know if we bitched about this before, but Neshcom just brought up this Wired article about Magic Leap. Can we just scroll down to the first 2 paragraphs of that story? Here we go. There's something happening in a generic office park in an uninspiring suburb near Fort Lauderdale, Florida. My home this is.
I sent that to you because I'm like, look what they're calling our hometown.
An uninspiring part of suburban Fort Lauderdale. This is where we grew up. F you, Wired. You're uninspiring.
Mm-hmm. Gentlemen, that's great. You got VR, but I'm totally happy playing this iOS game called What's in the Box. And it's a series of box-themed puzzles. And it's, not 3D. It's not VR, but it's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Totally happy playing this, and that's my pick this week. What's in the box?
So you do eventually get to find out what's in the box, though, right? Because let me guess, is it another box? It's always another box, isn't it?
I don't know. I'm trying to solve the puzzle, Brian.
Okay.
I'm sure it's Brad Pitt's favorite game.
Yes. What's in the box?
Brian, what's your pick?
I'll tell you what, I'm only a little bit into it. Let me make sure I get the title right. On Audible, I am listening to Smarter, Faster, Better by Charles Duhigg. He's the guy who wrote The Power of Habit, which I thought was a little bit overhyped, but I'm really enjoying Smarter, Better, Faster. It talks about what makes for good teams, and it turns out that it's not how smart they all are. It's not whether they have a strong leader or whether or not you have clashing personalities. Spoiler alert, as far as I can tell, it's about listening to people. And it talks about the research that Google did internally to sort of monitor all their team meetings and figure out, like, hey, here are best practices that are the most effective. And when everybody feels heard, even if their idea doesn't get used, even if it gets voted down, they are far more effective. And so really, really good stuff. I'm enjoying it.
Man, listening, the ability to keep people on the same page and not tune out is like that to me is all of what, not only leadership, but also just being a good teammate kind of is, I think people tend to think that, like, when you hold information back, that you're maybe doing somebody a favor or you're not, like, by not disrupting things, that it's going to be better. And ultimately, I don't know. I think we're constantly underestimating everybody's capacity to make a decision, or at least believe in a decision if they are given options,
or even to understand that what they honestly think is the best way to go about it maybe won't get picked for purely political reasons, or because this option's just not on the table. Like, people can, when people try to understand everyone else's point of view, you certainly increase the opportunity that everyone will end up on the same page, if not get the same things that they wanted.
My pick is Hover Junkers. We just talked about it, but last night on our on my Twitch channel, twitch.tv/Jerrystone, we had me, Brett, the Amtrekker Roundsville, my Contender co-creator, John Teasdale, and his girlfriend Jessica were over, and we literally just played Hover Junkers on stream and, like, commentated over it, and it was just an absolute blast, man. Like, we had such a fun time. The people watching seemed to have a real fun time with it, and it just kind of was it made me very, very happy that we could turn a very solitary experience like VR into something that was a lot more communal. A dialed in joy could be broadcast on that level, and I was very, very happy with that, and I think it's also a big credit to Hover Junkers, because I think that that's certainly going to be something that continues to be built upon. I
think we're at this point where the thing that this seems very familiar to me with where Vive is going is kind of like when the iPhone first came out, and then when you got the App Store, and the first things in were cool, and it's cool, these little handheld things. All of a sudden you had a device that kind of had sort of the power of, like, in a Game Boy or a Game Gear or something like that. And then handheld games started getting more and more complex and more engrossing to the point that they were a very dominant part of gaming. And I think that's happening with Vive, is that the novelty is there, but we're going to see the quality and the immersion just increase. So.
Yeah. Do you think there's any chance that there's a VR crash? I mean, everything goes in fits and starts, and you never know what's going to happen. But have we hit a technological base minimum level where pretty much from here on out there's always at least some kind of VR presence that's pretty good, and much like mobile, like after the iPhone, the smartphone, never slipped back in popularity. Mm-hmm. It'll get bigger and smaller, but never go away.
And then we saw two platforms. Then we saw Android come out there, and so we saw that two platforms could exist if they kind of did similar things, but solved different economic needs and different, sometimes technical requirements for people. I think that the fact that, look at how Oculus has morphed over the last couple of years. Now they have with the camera, and if you can add another camera, and it can do room sensing like the Vive, it's probably not It's not as, from what I understand, I can just make it not as evolved as the Vive room sensing, but we understand, you don't just want to sit in one space and turn your head around. You want to get up and walk around a little bit. So I think that we figured out that those experiences need to have very similar experiences. I got to look through here, see this. We're going to get wider fields of view. We still need to get total immersion, which we're not there yet. We need to get better resolution. But the experience from you guys, you're both saying, this is good enough for me right now to spend more time on.
Oh, absolutely. And
without a doubt.
Yeah. Hey, if we have time, one quick plug I would love to get in is we finally got off our butts and spent the literal 15 minutes that we advertised to other people it takes to create a website on Squarespace. And on Squarespace, we made themodernrogue.com. And I'm just so excited about the way the site came out. Brent put this amazing video that loops in the background that welcomes you when you hit the page up. I'm just extraordinarily pleased with it. It looks really badass.
Absolutely, everybody needs to go there and bookmark it. I think what you guys are doing with the Modern Rogue is awesome and inspiring. It's television quality, largely because these were all the things that you were not allowed to do on television. So,
I love watching these two idiots about to set a garage on fire of children's toys there.
It's authentic.
I hope they're not home.
Yeah, no, that's of course the irony is we're holding fire extinguishers at that moment, and of course fire extinguishers aren't going to work on the rocket fuel that we made because it self-oxidizes, and I keep having to explain to everyone we weren't holding the fire extinguishers for the rocket fuel; it was for all the other stuff that's not rocket fuel that was getting ready to combust.
Yes, fire's contagious.
Yeah,
gentlemen, it's been weird.
Nice.
Here.
Oh.
Sorry, say it again, Andrew. You got hung up.
That's his deadpan face. Screen grab.
Perfect timing. Good timing on that, though.
Yeah.
Let's see if we can get him back.
Oh, yeah.
There he is.
Do you have time for a super short after things?
I do. I just I got to bolt out of here in 30. I'll be fine.
Cool,
Okay.
man.
Sweet.
Well, take it away in 3.
Video.
Oh, you're oh, okay, there we go.
There we go.
All right. Take it away in 3, 2.
Welcome to After Things. I'm Andrew Main, joined by Justin Robert Young.
Hi.
Brian Brushwood.
Yo.
So on After Things, what we like to do is talk to people about being a creative, creating a business, how to figure out the balance between the creative side and the business side, offer, thoughts from our own experiences. I think that we've all done some different things and had some success and huge, humiliating failures. I mean, just horrifying ones. Make you want to curl under your covers in the back of your closet, never go face the world again while you cry incessantly.
Sure.
Dude, you're not kidding. That's accurate. And that's one of the things is the cliches, of course, that are 100% true are if you want to double your success rate, double your failure rate, fail faster, fail smarter, all that stuff. But I guess the weird part is if there's one ability that I think is the most valuable, when you strike out on your own with any venture, is being comfortable, being uncomfortable, man. Like if you can face your biggest fear and have the worst possible thing happen and come out the other side being all like, right on. Well, that's as bad as that's ever going to get. Let me, I learned a lot from that and I'll never make that mistake again. Let's go again. It's the ability to hop back on that ride every single morning that is the most difficult thing to achieve.
Absolutely. I would say the number one predictor of success of friends is how quickly they get back on track and go try something again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's also understanding, in my opinion, what your lessons are. And I think that's very often where your paralyzing fear of failure kind of comes in, is not necessarily that things are over, because, failure's failure. It's like a Band-Aid, on some level. Like, the fear of failure is almost worse than failing. Like, because once you failed, you're now by definition kind of on the other side of it, and you can rebuild and do something different. I think a lot of the paralysis after failure comes in not understanding, well, what did I learn? Or if you do have a sense of what you learned, but it contradicts something that you have long held to be true, whether that be a person or a practice or something like that, then that's hard to learn. It's hard to apply. And I think that's where a lot of that paralysis, at least in my mind, comes from.
Well, and oh, sorry, go ahead.
I think that the best advice I try to give myself is that sometimes it doesn't work out because it's just statistically, it wasn't your chance, wasn't your shot. I look at trying to get on TV for years and, did every 2 years ended up doing a pilot or something, which told me, okay, I know that the industry says, yes, we want to figure out how to find a place for you. And then, it took forever to finally get onto TV, but at least I knew that something was working and it was waiting for the math to work out in my favor. But other things, you want to go develop skills as you're waiting for these things to pan out. And that was sort of my attitude, was keep going up to bat and then keep developing skills. Because maybe it's not a lack of skills, it's just a numbers game. But either way, if every time you're trying it, if you evolve with that, then your chances are going to get better.
Well, and literally with television, that's certainly the case, because, you can be in the room and pitching something amazing and somebody loves it, but it doesn't happen. But then that person's at another network, or there's a leadership change at the network when you go there with something else. And now someone's saying, oh, God, oh man, we had this, like, remember last time, the last regime, what idiots they were that we didn't go with this. Now you're here. Now it's great. Like there is, I mean, in that particular field, like, just running yourself against the rocks over and over and over again is literally the only way to succeed.
Well, and it certainly doesn't hurt to put yourself in a position where you're highly diversified with other interests and other mechanics, because holy cow, is television a slow-moving glacier?
Well, that's a sanity thing, right? Like that's just being able to go to sleep at night, is like being able to busy yourself with different stuff, and it's idle hands are the devil's plaything, workplace.
Yeah.
I also think that applies to a lot of things in publishing, is that, with HarperCollins, I'm working on the third novel, and if they're happy with that, that'll be a fourth one, but it'll be a year and a half or more from now. And so, the idea is eventually that, I reach some sort of, critical mass, but that could be 10 years from now.
Yeah.
Of doing everything I'm supposed to do is just keep going. And that's true of a lot of things, but, there's a keep going up to bat and keep trying to evolve. And I think that it may not be because you didn't have the skill set, but always assume that you could have better skills.
Yeah. And also, I guess that's the other thing is the whole act of assumption. I think that if there's one general attitude that I think has worked out pretty well for all three of us, as best I could tell, is not not issuing polemics on what we know is the right way to do a thing, but rather to say, we strongly suspect this is going to be a good idea, or this, and then responding to the evidence that you get. There was a person I used to work with years and years and years ago, where ultimately it was very interesting to see, and I understand why people do it, but I was a very big fan of hey, this routine is not where we want it to be. Let's go out, get in front of people, and be terrible and learn as fast as we can and figure out which parts of it are good and which parts of it are bad and where our natural gifts are, and maybe we'll stumble into some kind of theme in there that'll eventually become a piece of really good theater. And what ended up breaking everything down was ultimately, every time I would bring this up, this person would talk about like, no, well, you really need to have this one particular type of satin curtain to really do this. I mean, if you're gonna do it right, and I only want to do it right. If we're gonna do this, I only want to do it and do it the right way. And I have these curtains, but they're just in my home state. And I'll be there in a couple months. I'll pick them up, and then we can really do this right. And ultimately, I just realized that I was in a relationship where he wanted to be right and I wanted to make money, and the two of those things were not always going to be compatible. And so ultimately, I split with this person just so I could do a much more iterative, going off. Not that it's necessarily the best way to do it, but I'd rather get up and be bad and learn quickly than sit around and be right and have nobody ever see anything.
And your partnership magic show with your daughter Penny has never been the same.
That person was Justin Robert Young.
Well, I mean, listen, there's just, I don't know. And these very often kind of sounds like, empty stuff you'd put on a tea towel, but like, ain't no substitute for just going out and doing it, even if you're going to eat it in front of people. Man,
well, I'd say especially, right? That has to be part of the plan. Is at some point, like when you sit down at 20 years old and you lay out the 45-year-old plan or 45-year plan, you have to write in there. Yeah, along the way there are going to be some epic stories of failure and embarrassment and things that didn't go according to plan and lessons that were learned. Like in my imagination before I even started, I had I'd interview people who I worship the ground they walked on, like Teller or David Copperfield or any of the great magicians. And Andrew Mayne, and in my imagination, I asked them, hey, have you ever had a show go terribly bad? And then whatever was about to come out of their mouth, I knew would be so much more terrifying and epic a story than I had experienced yet. So I knew that if I wanted to be as good as they were, I needed to set myself up for similar situations. Not that I'm aiming for failure, but just that it's you don't get to success and not have awesome, rad stories of difficult challenges thrown in your way.
Oh my God, of course. Yeah.
Can you clarify something there, Brian? I thought you said in my imagination I asked them this.
Oh, no.
Am I right?
Well, okay, no. Yeah, you don't exist. No, I'm talking about like at the age of 25, before you and I had ever met, when I considered quitting my day job and considered the path that I was signing up for. It's like, okay, if where am I? What have I done? What's the hardest gig I've ever had? I'm like, these are all chump change compared to the stories I bet these other guys have.
Wow. Okay, because it did sound like you're having conversations with them in your head.
Oh yeah, no, imaginary, like
okay.
You, much like you.
Yeah, clarify.
Well, no, isn't that the I don't know if this is true or not, but I'd heard it was like a Buddhist technique of when you have a problem. Zen Buddhist technique is when you have a problem, you try to remember how you solved it, as if there's a version of you in the future. Like, oh yeah, how did I get out of this room filling with water and I'm about to drown? And then it's that kind of thing.
Yeah, I'm actually a big fan of theory of mind and trying to develop models of how other people function or do things, because you find sometimes you can have the answer if you say, okay, who's your smartest friend? How would they solve this problem? And you would say, oh, well, he would go into Reddit and put it in front of everybody and say, hey, who's got the answer to do this? Which these answers wouldn't be readily available to us because maybe they're slightly outside our comfort zone. Mm-hmm. But often that's it, is that it might be, oh, no, I would just call up the smartest person I know, ask them, who's the smartest person they know, and then within 30 minutes I'll get an answer. And so there's either like just trying to figure out what you know about how other people solve problems and putting yourself in their point of view, and then there's modeling, and then there's actually saying, oh, this is how they'll do it, let me go do that.
Yeah, absolutely.
And ultimately, it's like that's something that I've had to work on is getting, like, I'm very, very lucky to have a lot of very, very smart people that I can bounce stuff off of, but learning how to ask the right questions has been something that I've had to work on. I often want to go to people with kind of half-baked questions that ultimately aren't going to get me where I want. I need to know exactly what I want before I seek out the help that I need. And that's, everybody's got a process.
That's sort of very poignant, is that the idea of how you frame that question of what it is you're trying to solve. I know all the time in writing or other creative things, I get stumped because I don't know what I'm asking. I know that something's not working, but I have to back up and say, oh, what's the problem here? And is it that I don't know where the story should go? I don't know where the character should go. Or if I'm trying to think of something, you have to narrow down specifically what problem you're trying to solve. And once you define a problem as narrowly as you can, the solution is obvious.
Yeah.
Right, so I think we fixed everyone's problems.
We're
Everyone's
done.
a success.
So, yeah.
To avoid another podcast like this one, people, send in your questions. Send in what you want us to try to ponder or answer, because really, it's on you guys. It's on you, not Brian, not Justin.
Are they emailing Neshcom directly? Yeah. Is that correct?
Email Neshcom at Gmail, NESHCOM at gmail.com.
Awesome.
Subject line after things.
Gentlemen, this has been great.
Hey, so I don't know if we could do like double picks, but I have been playing a bit of Overwatch, and man, talk about a project that is so good precisely because they identified everything wrong with it in early stages. You probably know better than me, Neshcom. This world was being built for kind of an MMO kind of situation, and that they just bailed on that.
Yeah, I think Blizzard was spending a lot of time on figuring out lore and story, and I guess either they couldn't make it work or it just wasn't what they wanted it to be. It was going to be called Epic or something like that.
Yeah, the story, as I heard it, was like basically you had a day job, and every so often, you'd get called into your duties on the Overwatch, and you become a badass for a bit. Yeah. And without ever having seen it or guessing, I'm going to guess half the game was really good, and then the rest of the time you're just...
Kotaku had the big autopsy on what was internally referred to as Project Titan, and this was a decade in the making. And they I guess Kotaku put it back up on their front page because they launched Overwatch. But yeah, that goes very much into exactly what it was supposed to do. So here we go. Players would be able to select from classes with names like Reaper, Jumper, Titan, Ranger, and Juggernaut, each of which had its own special combat abilities and items. According to a source, Jumpers, for example, would be agile scouts, yada yada yada. It felt a lot like Team Fortress and a cross between StarCraft 2's in-game cinematics and The Incredibles. So certainly a lot of the elements that make Overwatch very, very special were spawned from this project. However, the idea of splitting the MMO into, quote, real world and shadow worlds has been abandoned for what we presume to be the more interesting shadow world.
And you can definitely see in like the cinematics and all the story and the lore, it's very clear that there are two distinct good guys and bad guy teams, but those don't have any. That's all just narrative. That doesn't play into how the game works at all. But I think it's better for that. I think it's better that there is not any sort of weird limitation or bounding box on that. I think what they've made is a really good game.
Well, and this was also, I mean, listen, you want to talk about just creativity in general. Blizzard is a company that, saw declining subscription numbers for their cash cow, World of Warcraft, right? That's what made them not just a game developer, but like a very, very, very titanic force in their industry. They were developing Project Titan, as what was being heralded as the next MMO. Like everybody who had done subscription MMOs and everybody had tried it every which way but loose. Free to play, licensing gigantic properties like Star Wars, and all of which had varying successes, going from middling to unsuccessful. Project Titan was supposed to be the next 20 years of MMOs. So not only was it important internally, it was important for the entire genre. And they pulled the plug on it probably they were at like a poop or get off the pot situation. And they just decided to slash it in half and release half the game because the other half of the game wasn't fun enough. That takes nuts, man. Like that is something that is rare leadership to say, hey, you want to know what this thing that we have developed for a really, 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 really long time? It's just not going to see the light of day.
Man, well, that's a tough one. That's a tough pill to swallow.
I got a side Jag if we got a few minutes.
Yeah, sure.
So this week we had the Angry Birds movie.
Yep.
Right? And currently it's at 66 million. It's doing pretty good overseas. It is now the number 5 highest grossing video game movie of all time. The number 1 being Lara Croft. We'll go by domestic. Lara Croft is number 1 at 131 million. Number 2 is Prince of Persia at 90. Then Pokemon at 85. Mortal Kombat at 70. And we are facing, we're going to get the Warcraft movie, which Vance, word on that.
Not great.
Yeah.
No, it's not so good, Al.
Yeah, it's shocking how poorly video games in general have been able to cross over into video games. I believe certainly at some point, but like I think the Final Fantasy movie was with like a B- grade was the highest rated video game movie of all time or something. Like it's astonishing how low the bar is for quality of movies. Yeah.
Now, we all it's funny. Everybody loves Duncan Jones. We all love Duncan Jones.
Yes.
And I don't think he'll take too much of a hit from this. And again, it may come out and it may do great, may do fantastic, but
Look at these Rotten Tomato ratings. If you go to the Wikipedia listing of a list of films based on video games, we got a ton of them coming out up ahead. Assassin's Creed, Resident Evil, Final Chapter, Uncharted, Sonic the Hedgehog, Sky Cooper, Dragon's Lair the movie. I didn't know that was coming. But then, and I guess, Final Fantasy got 85 million and 44% on Rotten Tomatoes. Angry Birds movie currently at 43% on Rotten Tomatoes, and it looks like it's already at $223 million. That's amazing.
Internationally, yeah.
Yeah, international.
So listen, these movies are not good, right? Like, that's not to say that they will not be, they'll be bad forever, right? I mean, you could say a lot of the same stuff about comic book movies in the early 90s, right? And then, it took Blade and X-Men.
But I would say that we had a great Superman movie in 1978.
Yeah, oh, true, yeah.
We had a great Superman 2, maybe even a better, a wonderful sequel, perfect for its time. The Tim Burton movies, I wasn't, at the time I was cool with them, but first couple did great box office and actually got some strong reviews. I would say that comic book movies, we started having. What's that?
You're right.
Yeah. So I have my theory is it's the inherent problem is that what makes a great video game is the lack of a narrative. There is a great story. There's a great premise. There's story building. There's the background story around you, the universe you create. But the fun of the game is your experience in there. You're set in this world in which you can have a great experience in a narrative and discover things and do that. And none of that necessarily and a personality, is at it's your personality where the central thing to any story is great characters. And character is a very different thing in the film world than it is in a video game world. And it's not to put one form over the other because they absolutely have their incredible strengths. Well, world building is absolutely essential in video games. You create a great video game world, you'll spend 30, 40 hours in there.
And And I think what's so frustrating, you know, and it'll be very interesting to talk to a lot of my super, super hardcore Warcraft fans, friends in 3 months than now, right? Because right now, nobody's going to talk crap about the movie as soon as it comes out because everybody, you know, wants to, you know, be a part of. A
little bit of a Phantom Menace syndrome happening right now where it's like nobody.
I mean, I think it's like, it's, people want more. Even if they're just disappointed by this movie, they want it to be a hit because maybe the next one will be better, right?
Right.
But I think what, for me, with only a passing understanding of this lore, it thinks is a missed opportunity is that unlike, let's say, an Uncharted or an Assassin's Creed, where people are very excited about a fairly static storyline, Warcraft is very much like, I mean, it is closer to me like the Lego movie, right? Like you can do something that kind of goes into various different places that involves these pieces because that's part of the fun of Warcraft, the game, is the infinite possibilities. So you can tell a story that isn't just this like very laborious epic lore, like, and through the portal came the hordes, and now if we don't unite, then we will all perish. Like, it's been done a million times. I mean, Warcraft as a lore very much borrows from other high fantasy, so you're not getting anything necessarily completely unique. What was fun about Warcraft, as I understand it, is how silly it is and how much you can tell almost not a parody, but a more lighthearted version of these stories that right now I think are kind of ripe for it.
Yeah, dude, I would much rather, I mean, I probably will not go see the Warcraft movie, but I would not have missed a Warcraft movie if it was essentially a fraternity story told with goblins, you know? Like, at Goblin, we're going to get that crusty old Dean or whatever. I would have loved that.
Yeah, and, you know, the fact that it's not that and the fact that, you know, I think there's a reason why it's just like nobody is going to walk in to a Warcraft movie except for people who are already invested in it and take that lore seriously. It's just not going to happen. And if the movie takes itself seriously, I think that's a fatal flaw right there.
I think that as we saw the declining box office of the Hobbit movies, and then by the time the Warcraft trailer came out, it's like, oh, okay, you know, the benchmark was Lord of the Rings and the Hobbit. But even that, there was a fatigue with The Hobbit because the story wasn't that strong. And the building these big universe stories, we give us personal, dial it down, make it small, and you'll be amazed at how well that will go over. Where, you know, like, there's invading armies of CG. I mean, it looks just so CG. I'm looking at like vampire, you know, Shrek meets The Rock, you know, characters. It's just like, none of that looks real to me. It's a cartoon movie, and I have a problem there with that. And then, two, the story, like, it's so important. Our world is in danger. Well, yeah, it always is, you know.
So,
and also, like, what do we care if they get overrun by orcs?
So the highest rated Rotten Tomatoes video game movie of all time at 44% is that Final Fantasy: The Spirits Within. Angry Birds is number 2 with 43%. Metacritic, though, what do you think the top Metacritic video game movie of all time is?
Super Mario Brothers.
Mortal Kombat. Yeah.
I got
Mortal Kombat at 58%.
It was
I'll tell you what. Mortal Kombat was I dug the crap out of Mortal Kombat when I was a kid. I dug you know, I liked it. I mean, obviously I was very much into the game. I don't know. I mean, it's ultimately I do believe that you can make a good movie out of anything, but it is going to be dependent on the story that you tell. And I think for a lot of these properties, we don't, even people who love the video games, if you get why it's fun at its core and be true to it, you don't need to you know, slobber all over the fan service of like, oh my God, he pulled out the sword and they went to the town and there's a murloc that popped up in the swamp. Like, that's, you know, that's sprinkling on top.
The problem is, like I keep trying to say, it's like Deadpool was great because they took this great character and they said, let's be true to that. Captain America. You know, let's do the best version of these characters and put them there. Video games, you're the character, so it's this. You when they buy this IP, it's missing the most important ingredient to a great story.
Yeah.
Or either that, or it places someone else who, because that's a really good point. It's like if somebody else is playing, Gordon Freeman on Half-Life. You're like, well, that's not how I played the role. When I was Gordon Freeman, I took a lot more creativity to the way I set up my traps.
Yeah,
also,
it's interesting too because a lot of times some of the most popular video games are they're derivative of really popular film franchises. You know, Lara Croft did pretty well as a franchise, but it was because it's Lady Indiana Jones.
Yeah.
And you had, the attempts to do like Duke Nukem was funny because, as a game, because it was Ash from Evil Dead.
Correct. Yeah, complete with full-on lifted lines. All the lines were him. And by the way, that's the kind of person Duke Nukem would be, is he would unironically go around pinching lines from movies he likes.
Yeah. And so I hold hope that there could be some people like I watched the Assassin's Creed trailer. I'm like, man, this again.
Yeah, we'll see.
I want to be wrong.
Can we? All right, real quick. Just a few lines. Big kerfuffle this week about Captain America, the Steve Rogers comic, wherein it was revealed that at least in this first issue, who knows whether or not they'll retcon it or have some big left turn. It'll be the first time in comics history that ever happens. That he is a Hydra agent and murders somebody. A lot of people up in arms about it. I have a hot take. Did you guys follow this, and do you have an opinion on it?
Yeah, as I understand it, this was, you said it was the first issue or
first issue of a new series, Steve Rogers, Captain America.
Yeah, they indicated in some quote that they had been setting it up literally for years with a bunch of little things. And it's like, look, yeah, this is what you do. You set up an arc, you play, you make Superman dead for a little bit, and then, you give Spider-Man organic web shooters for a little bit, and then he has a twin, and it turns out that his clone was the real him, and we've been following the wrong way. Yeah, it's hello, people, comic books. I'd like you to meet them.
Here's my problem. I can only think of one time ever that they did a big thing like that, and it really ended up being interesting narratively. Every other time, back in the early night, like they did the first time they killed off Superman, and then we were going to get the big John Byrne reimagining of it, and ended up being the same dumb Superman. It just over and over again. The only time I ever thought it was something that was really done well, because for a period of time it created interesting consequences, and you knew it would get better. But what was it going to be like when it happened? Was when Bane broke Batman's back.
Yeah,
because you're like, okay, we know Batman's going to get better, but what's going to happen to Gotham while this is real? This is a very interesting. Who's going to step into place there? What's that going to occur? And that's what the Azrael storyline. And that was a very interesting storyline that Christopher Nolan decided to use elements of that in the last Batman movie, because it was this really, this is an interesting consequence. And nobody for a moment thinks that, what if Captain America really was working? That's dumb. I'm not even going to pick up your comic because of that. That's so dumb.
Well, I think that to me is its greatest sin. It's not necessarily that it's, this inherently, awful thing. How could you possibly do it? Now Captain America being a Hydra agent ruins my childhood, yada, yada, yada. It's just the most fun stories I've ever been a part of, I think, comes from the fact that you start trying to think about where we are, right? And where we're going. And when you can, in your own head, think, oh, wait, but what if he does this? But what if this does that? Oh, but what if this character has this happen to them? And you can think of multiple things in your head that would be exciting. And now you're excited to see where they take it, because maybe it's one of those, or maybe it's another door number X that is more exciting than everything else. Those are the best ones. When you look at Captain America as a Hydra double agent, it's like, okay, well, either this is a fake memory, or he's an elaborate double agent and he's finally going to give Hydra the what for, or he's really a Hydra agent and now we're going to find out why he really becomes Captain America. None of these seem like really exciting pathways for me to follow.
Yeah, and it's a dumb retcon kind of thing. If if you were to do one like, hey, let's send Captain America to prison, like, for a year or something, a federal pen or something like that, or some aspect like that, or, they've done criminal storylines and stuff, or something like that right now. Oh, going forward, they did the thing where he kind of turned his back on America in sort of a weird way. And, there have been attempts at stuff like that. But I think if you try to say, how do you really seriously approach this? I think there could be more interesting ways to do it. Here's the thing you didn't know.
That's the thing is when he gave up the America part of his name and he was just like, anyone else, I'm just the captain. Don't worry about it. And he goes to Tony Stark and gets a thing made, a new shield and so on. That was great because that kind of tapped into this cultural gestalt where it's like, hey man, yeah, I'm not real proud of the way America's acting these days. And wow, how interesting that this guy who's, was a cheerleader clown for America is finally turning his back. And what's that like? I mean, whether you agreed with it or not, it was something that it resonated. I don't know what this would resonate with. I don't know that anybody felt anything good about this.
It's just but what if the president was really the president of Nazis?
And again, that's what made Watchmen great, was because it was in the height of, written in the 1980s at the height of the threat of global destruction, and it was something that tapped into all this. Where's this? I
got to run, gentlemen. Right. I'm going to say, any of you can say that it's been after and keep it going, but...
Nah, I think we agree.
Hail Hydra. Right.
Been after.
All right, have a good time at your con, Andrew.
Brian, I need that thing.
Yep. I'm a bad person. I'm a bad person. That's the end of it. Today will be the day you'll get the thing.
Okay. I want the thing. I want the thing for all our sakes and your sakes, because if we have that thing
to give Andrew the thing in 3 hours.
There are some other doors that thing might open up.
Yeah.
This is the worst internet weed deal I've ever heard.
Andrew just needs to send poop emojis to Brian every hour on the hour until he gets it.
All right, later, guys.
All right.
I love you all.
Bye, guys.
Probably
Bye.
more than anything else.
Love you too.
Bye, folks. All right, Jerry might be a little early today. I love you.
Oh, hey, Justin.
Yeah.
I got a thing to talk to you about.
All right, I'll wait until after we go.
Okay.